Hey everyone, welcome back to Excellence English. I'm Arjun.
And I'm Ria. In today's episode, we're going to talk about our recent trip to, drumroll please, Goa.
Goa is such an amazing destination. The beaches, the food, the culture, there's so much to dive into.
Absolutely. For anyone planning a trip or even dreaming of one, stay tuned as we share our experiences, tips, and some funny stories from our adventure. So Arjun, let's start with the journey itself. Remember how excited we were at the airport?
Of course, it felt like the beginning of an adventure movie, but I must say the airline food could have been better.
Oh yes, you and your food critiques. Anyway, once we landed in Goa, the first thing that hit me was the vibe. Everything felt so laid back and tropical.
Agreed. And that airport taxi ride through the lush greenery, it was like driving into paradise.
Don't forget how we almost missed our cab because someone decided to buy snacks at the airport.
Guilty as charged. Goa's energy makes you crave snacks, I guess. Now let's talk about the beaches. Which one was your favorite, Ria?
That's tough, but I'd say Palolem Beach. It was so peaceful with that crescent shape and the palm trees.
True, but I think Baga Beach was more happening. The water sports there were insane.
Speaking of water sports, how scared were you during parasailing?
I wasn't scared. I was just preparing for the height.
Sure, let's call it that. But I'll admit, the view from up there was breathtaking.
And the sunset at Vegator Beach? That was a whole mood. We just sat there, watching the sun dip into the sea, with music playing in the background.
I miss it already. Now, Goa isn't just about beaches, it's also a foodie's paradise. What was the best thing you ate, Arjun?
Without a doubt, the prawn balchao at that shack near Anjuna Beach. It was spicy, tangy, and full of flavor.
Oh yes, and I love the babincha for dessert. It's such a classic Goan treat.
The nightlife was another highlight. Tito's Lane? Anyone?
How could I forget? The energy, the music, it's like the whole place comes alive after sunset.
You were killing it on the dance floor, Ria.
And you were just trying not to spill your drink.
There's more to Goa than just beaches, though. Like the heritage sites.
Yes, the Basilica of Bom Jesus was stunning. The architecture and the history, it was mesmerizing.
And Fort Aguada. The view from up there was spectacular. It's crazy to think about how old these places are.
I also loved visiting the spice plantations. The tour was so informative and the smell of fresh spices was amazing.
And let's not forget the Dudhsagar waterfalls. Trekking there was such an adventure.
That was exhausting, but so worth it.
Okay, time for some funny stories. Do you want to share the scooter incident, or should I?
Oh no, go ahead. Relive your embarrassment.
Fine. So, we rented a scooter, and let's just say my driving skills aren't great. I almost drove us into a coconut stall.
The vendor's expression was priceless.
Lesson learned. Practice riding a scooter before trying it in Goa.
Another tip, always carry sunscreen. We underestimated the sun and by day 2 we were sunburned messes.
Also, plan your trip during the off-season if you want to avoid crowds and high prices. Okay, time for some hilarious moments from the trip. I'll start with the scooter incident, but let's keep the mockery to a minimum. Okay, Ria?
No promises, but go ahead.
So, we rented this scooter. It's the quintessential Goan thing to do, right? But I hadn't ridden one in years. I was like, how hard can it be? Famous last words. We were heading to Vegator Beach, and I somehow managed to miss a turn. Instead of stopping smoothly, I panicked and swerved straight toward a coconut vendor's stall.
You should have seen his face. His hands were up, coconut in one hand, as if he was ready to throw it like a cricket ball.
And I somehow managed to stop inches away. I think I apologized 100 times before we left. Pro tip, know how to handle a scooter before riding it in Goa.
Or better yet, let someone else drive. My funny moment has to be from our boat ride to the dolphin watching tour.
Oh no, this one's on me again, isn't it?
Yup. So for those who don't know, dolphin tours are pretty popular in Goa. We boarded this small boat, and everyone was super excited, right? Then Arjun here spots something in the water and yells, "Dolphin!"
And? It was a dolphin. Eventually.
No, it was just a random floating log at first. The whole boat turned to look. Cameras ready, only to realize it was nothing. Then, 5 minutes later, actual dolphins appeared, but no one trusted him anymore.
Alright, moving on. Another funny thing. Do you remember that restaurant with the karaoke night?
Oh yes. You decided to channel your inner rock star and sang Summer of '69. I'll give you credit, you tried, but those high notes were brutal.
Hey, the crowd loved it, or at least they clapped politely.
Sure. Let's go with that.
Okay, enough roasting me. Let's balance this out. Remember your bargaining battle with that shopkeeper in the flea market?
Oh, that was epic. It was at the Anjuna Flea Market, which, by the way, is a must-visit for anyone going to Goa. I found this beautiful dream catcher, but the guy quoted an outrageous price.
Yeah, something like 2,000 rupees for a tiny one.
Exactly. I put all my haggling skills to use, and after what felt like 15 minutes of back and forth, I got it for 400 rupees.
Impressive. But then you ended up spending more than 400 on snacks at the next stall.
Well, shopping works up an appetite. Let's get serious for a moment and share some tips for anyone planning their Goa adventure.
Totally. Tip number 1. Pack light but smart. Think breathable clothes, swimsuits, flip-flops, and a good pair of sunglasses.
And sunscreen. Do not underestimate the Goan sun. By day 2, we were walking around looking like tomatoes.
Tip number 2. Rent a scooter or a bike. It's the best way to explore Goa, but make sure you know how to ride one, unlike me.
Yes, and always wear a helmet. Goa is pretty relaxed, but safety first.
Tip 3. Plan your trip during the off-season if you're looking for budget-friendly options. November to February is peak season, but March to May offers quieter beaches and cheaper stays.
And if you're visiting during the monsoon, like June to September, prepare for a whole different vibe. The greenery is stunning and the waterfalls are in full flow. Just be mindful that water sports might be limited.
Tip 4. Embrace the local food. Skip the fancy restaurants once in a while and try the shacks and small eateries. They serve some of the best seafood and Goan delicacies.
And don't shy away from trying dishes like prawn balchao, shakuti, or vindaloo. For vegetarians, the coconut-based curries are a treat.
Oh, and bargaining is key at the markets. Whether it's jewelry, clothes, or souvenirs, don't settle for the first price.
Final tip, go with the flow. Goa is all about relaxing and soaking in the vibes, so don't overplan. Leave room for spontaneous adventures. You know what surprised me the most, Arjun? How different North Goa and South Goa felt.
Totally. North Goa was buzzing with energy. Baga, Kalangde, and Anjuna were all about parties and nightlife.
And South Goa was like a breath of fresh air. Palolem and Agonda were so serene, almost like a hidden paradise.
It's like Goa gives you the best of both worlds. One minute you're dancing at a club, and the next, you're meditating on a quiet beach.
Speaking of unexpected, remember when we stumbled upon that live music performance at the Fontanas in Panjim?
How could I forget? The Portuguese-style houses, the cobbled streets, and then suddenly, live music. It felt like we'd stepped into a movie scene.
Goa has so many layers. It's not just about beaches and parties. The churches, forts, markets, and even those random streets you wander into have a story to tell.
Absolutely. I think the beauty of Goa lies in its versatility. Whether you're an adventure junkie, a history buff, or just someone who wants to chill with a beer, there's something for everyone.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything. Beaches, food, nightlife, funny stories, and tips.
Yeah, but honestly, no podcast can capture the magic of actually being there. Goa is something you have to experience yourself.
100%. And for anyone listening, if you're planning a trip, go with an open mind and an empty stomach. You'll want to try everything.
We'd love to see your adventures.
All right, that's it for today's episode of Chit Chat Chronicles. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Until next time, this is Arjun.
And Ria, signing off. Stay beachy and travel safe.